The big dance is almost here. The grand final of the Global Rugby Challenge is just a matter of hours away. Hello everyone and welcome back along to the final team naming for the Global Rugby Challenge season number 4. Today's video is coming to you just hours before kickoff to the biggest game of the season. It's a grand final between the Celtic Dragons and the Pacific Tower. You should all know that by now, and that is why this video is a little later than usual. Of course, if it went for the 24-hour gap, you'd know who was in the final before the semi-finals had taken place. So that's why it is the same day video this morning. We've got the team naming. It will be tonight, the way we kick the season off, an 8 p.m. premiere video on a Sunday evening here in New Zealand time will be the ultimate showdown. So effectively, for those of you who are local to me, it is a morning naming, it is an evening kickoff. For those of you on the other side of the globe, well, it could be anywhere, but be known, it will be that usual time on a Sunday night that we get the grand final underway between our two top teams and our two newest teams to the series. Of course, today, this one is just for a little bit of a team naming, so you know who's going to be out there for the big showdown. And let me tell you something, there is no surprises being pulled at all by the two coaches for tonight's game. So let's get into it. It's the ultimate showdown, the big dance, the last chance for a trophy. It is the grand final of Season 4 Global Rugby Challenge. Let's take a look at the two teams. And of course, it will be the Celtic Dragons, who we look at first, and the side has really defied all the odds, coming from way down in the quarterfinal playoffs. They had to go through all the weeks of the finals, and how did they get there? Well, they did it in the most impressive fashion you could ever dream of. Remember round 13, the last round of the regular season? It wasn't that long ago that the video went live, but it was where the Dragons really took the season by the collar and gave it the big uppercut. They took out the then undefeated Jaguares for the first time this season, and it wasn't their last time they took the team out as well. 20 points to 10. They suffered their first defeat, that's the Jaguares, in the final game of the season. It didn't stop them finishing first though, but that little seed was sown in the back of the Jaguares' mind that the Dragons are not to be messed with. They finished the Dragons in third position, and they had a decent record to go with it. A bit of a shaky one at the start, a few draws early on, but they've come home very, very tightly with a 4th place finish. So they made their way into the quarterfinals. They met then with the Guardians of the Crib. This was a do-or-die fixture, and it was the Celtic Dragons who came away with a very impressive 21-14 victory to take their place in the semi-finals. And who would they meet there? Well, it was the minor premiers, the top qualifiers, once again, the Jaguares, and they could not be stopped. This time the Dragons did it again, the second time in 3 weeks. They took out the Jaguares, who had not suffered a defeat for 12 weeks of the regular season. 14-10, that semi-final score, seen the Dragons into the big dance. The grand final in just their second season, they made it to the ultimate showdown. Now, why would you change a winning team like that? You just don't. And that is exactly what's happened with the Celtic Dragons for the big showdown. Their team for tonight's grand final will be unchanged and will be as follows. Regan Hall at 1, Daniel Jenkins 2, and Buzzgood Killer Daniel will be at tight head number 3. Into the second row, Adam Minnett-Jones and Craig Anderson at 4 and 5. Caleb Cook on the blindside flank. Milton Simiu, the big man, will be at 7. And Christian Tornatore makes number 8 his home for the final of the season. Payman Silva, the impressive scrum half, has absolutely smashed it in these last few rounds, and he'll partner the consistent Will Rogers in the number 10 jumper. Captain Steve Tickoggs has made a formidable combination with Oscar Connolly in midfield. Those two will start again at 12 and 13. Callum Ewing finally has realised his potential as an elusive finisher on the left wing, and I for Minnett-Jones much the same on the right. In Ferguson, he's versatile, he's adaptable, and again he starts in that number 15 jumper. That is your Dragons side for the grand final, the ultimate matchup. And their opponents, well, the Pacific Tower, a team that took a very different road to the grand final. They finished second overall this season, and they had well, a record that anyone would dream of having come the playoffs at the end of the season. They did have a few slip-ups here and there. They lost a couple of big matches, but ultimately they got that top 2 finish, which gave them the bye in the quarterfinal stage of the season. But remember, this team also went into round 13 with the regular season bye as well. So that meant that the Pacific Tower did not play a game between round 12 and the semi-finals, where they went up against a very formidable team in the Flakers. The Flakers are a side that always, and have season after season, punched well above their weight and made their way through the quarterfinal stage themselves into the semi-final against the Tower. But the Pacific Tower have shown they are a team that loves to run, they love to attack, and they have that passion. They took out the Flakers. It took almost the whole 95 or so minutes to get the job done, well into the extra time period, into the red zone. But a late try to Fitu Tipu was the difference maker for the Tower as they rumbled over to a 21-14 victory over the Flakers. Again, this is the 15th that are match ready now. They've had a hard run in, and why would you change it? Why would you do something silly like that? You just don't, and they've not done it as well. So let's have a look at their starting 15, and it is much like played in that epic semi-final against the Flakers. Starting off a loose head prop, Sitaleki Kavalu will be in the number 1 jumper. Hooker C. Samisi Lincoln Atamai, and of course the tight head is the match winner, Fitu Tipu, from the semi-final games. Zandre Lambrex was an absolute force in the line-out. He'll again partner with Ryan Webb in the second row. Conrad Fenby a blindside, Tubba Bailey on the open, and the big man Ross Cameron will put up a very strong back row for the Tower. The electric Jim Aligino captains and starts again at scrum half with the very competent Henko Fayard kicking the team around from number 10. Bob Jeffrey and Dean Mumberg, would you have it any other way? I suggest not. They start again at 12 and 13. Max Hansen, the little elusive winger on the left wing. Tom Barrett, the big finisher on the right. He was fantastic in that semi-final as well. Daryl Gray will be at fullback again for the Tower. What a prospect we have in store for us. The grand final, Celtic Dragons, Pacific Tower, a team in just their second season versus a team in their first. How long you've been in this competition, it doesn't matter. If you're in there, you're good enough, and they've made it all the way to the final showdown. It is the grand final of the GRC. It is just hours away. Bookmark this game. It's going to be fantastic. The grand final, I'll see you for it. Make sure you're there for the premiere. But until then, thank you as always for your support throughout the season. The final should be fantastic. But for now, thank you for watching. Thank you for your feedback. And I hope you've enjoyed the season and the big showdown tonight as well. Until next season, and of course team of the season, thank you for watching and take care.